Well, hi there, friends. This is Emily Craig, and I did a flat Earth, I call it flat Earth video last week, and my friend Alfred Weber's subscribers so strenuously objected to my approach that I'm redoing that this week, now that my producer's gone fishing, as the space news report for the week. And I think it's important we realize that the Hegelian dialectic of setting points of view against each other is definitely at work in the flat Earth versus spinning ball Earth brouhaha. And I'm going to show you how there are other factors at play in this strategy and in this scenario that people are missing, and they're kind of missing the gist of why that dialectic exists in front of our faces in the first place. And you know and I know it's to cover up something else. All right, so I'm going to start with the hypothesis and the belief and the observation that historically catastrophes have always occurred when the skies get funny, when the skies start acting weird. That's when the catastrophes occur, because somebody's messing with our skies. Let's take a look. Now, what we are noticing in our literature and in ancient writings is that resets and trouble on the ground are associated with phenomena in the air. We have chemtrails, we have strange looking clouds, we have foreign bodies coming into the atmosphere without any announcements. We have weaponized weather and terrible storms, and we also have phenomena that we've never really seen before. We don't even know how to describe it, except as in the ancient literature as signs that there's something going on. Now, since 2003, when Nancy Leader began archiving and showing double sun photos, I've been saving those too, and the powers that be have remained silent about the significance of the changes in our atmosphere and to the sun and to the moon. There's nobody talking about any of it, which makes me wonder what else is going on. Doesn't it make you wonder? Okay. Whereas as a kid, I used to draw the sunset with a great big sun sitting on the horizon, and that's not how it works anymore. How it works now is when the sun's setting, it's real tiny and it moves off into the distance. Didn't used to work like that, all right? You know that. And the sky over our head, well, you know, the stars are all in fixed positions, so any scientist that wants to tell me they're moving at thousands of miles an hour around a galaxy and we're moving thousands of miles an hour just doesn't make any sense to me, all right? Now, spherical maps are an artifact only about the last 500 years, but even in the beginning of the 20th century, flat maps were in use. The Bible has no such word as spinning ball Earth or sphere or anything like that. So we don't find any corroboration in Scripture with a spinning ball Earth. If you look at your washing machine in your house or garage, when it's spinning, all the water at the bottom goes shooting out. So if we were on a spinning ball, Antarctica would be shooting out its water. But if you look at photos of the seas around Antarctica, they're very, very calm. Now, indigenous tribes knew damn well the world was neither a spinning ball nor flat. They had their own versions of something more complex than that. Of course, early maps when humans weren't literate or didn't have a grasp of map making were largely just attempts. They were guessing at what they thought the larger mass of the Earth might be. This is the Piri-Reis map. And here's a map of California when it was an island in 1694. How odd. The official map of the USGS is an Asmuthal Equidistant Projection, and the official map of the UN is a flat map, all right? All heads-up displays for navigating, whether on the water, on land, or in the air, are flat horizons, okay? And as an airplane travels, it has pitch, roll, and yaw, okay? And the fisheye lens, the GoPro lens, will show you yaw, but it won't show you pitch or roll. And so with the formula that they have come up with to show what curvature ought to be, we ought to be able to see it. But the fact is that nobody is able to substantiate the curvature that not the pitch curvature of our world, never mind the yaw curvature, okay? And so wherever you are, you see a flat horizon at any altitude. And if we lived on a sphere, the pitch of the sphere would mean that the line of sight would be dropping off in front of us. It wouldn't be flat in front of us. And so we have to ask why our scientists obsess over the spinning ball theory when physical indications are definitely something else. What's going on with these guys? Are they just trying to protect their funding? So yes, the oceans and horizons are flat because the ocean seeks its own level, and all of the oceans are contiguous. But then why aren't we seeing what's true? Let's listen about Auguste Piccard.
This is a down metal gondola which will bring us into the stratosphere. We are going to be lifted up there by Linde hydrogen. That hydrogen will lift us in a place where nobody can breathe and live. But inside we'll have Linde oxygen, which makes good what the hydrogen makes bad, and makes a very comfortable living place for us. Here, I would like to show you inside, but we have too many people. I couldn't all bring you this gondola. Very little space. That's enough space for Lieutenant Commander Settle, the pilot, and me, who are going to do the work on cosmic rays. But I can show a little bit about it. Here is the ring on which the gondola hangs. Here is the rope to which is connected with offering. This here is a roof garden. If we want some fresh air, we can go on this here, as long as we are still in the lower air. And then when we go in the stratosphere, we close here. You hand me the cover, please. Thank you. This here is the down metal. Oh, I'm sorry for the noise. This here is the down metal cover, you see, very light. That will come inside, and another one similar will come outside. You take it again, please. And then everything is closed. Then we go into the stratosphere, and we do there our work on cosmic rays.
All ready?
Professor Picard, we are very glad to present you for the Union Carbide and Carbon Corporation with the hydrogen for your expedition. We believe and are sure that the Linde Company has made the purest hydrogen that has ever been produced. We recognize that any impurity may result in the loss of altitude and affect the expedition. I would like to have your comments on this regard.
Well, thank you very much, Mr. Carter, for all this hydrogen. That's definitely a great big lot.
You expect to accomplish with the cosmic rays?
Well, first I want to thank you and thank the Union Carbide Company for all this hydrogen you give me. And you give for the whole thing. Everything else you did for helping us to work. Now, since this hydrogen is good as that, I'm sure that it will lift us just as high as any hydrogen could lift us. And, you know, we are going to measure the cosmic rays very high. We want to be as high as possible so that we have as little air as possible between us and the origin of the cosmic rays. And of course, the higher we are, the less air we have, and the better result we'll get. And we're sure we'll get the best result we can get there. Very much hope that we'll get higher and higher up than one has ever been before.
Once again, Professor Picard, the Belgian scientist, has ascended to heights never before reached by man to study the stratosphere, that unknown region which surrounds the Earth at a distance of more than 7 miles. Last year in May he reached over 9 miles in height, but this time he was out to beat his own record. Accompanied by his assistant, Monsieur Max Cousins, the start was made at dawn from Dubendorf Aerodrome near Zurich. The preparations for the flight began at midnight, but thousands of people had made the journey from Zurich in special trains, whilst a battalion of Swiss troops held down the guy ropes. Professor Picard himself superintended the arrangements for the inflation of the balloon. And then, when all was ready, he clambered inside the gondola which contained a mass of scientific instruments and gave the signal to let go. The balloon rose quickly and eventually climbed to over 10.5 miles above the Earth. Just imagine, whilst we were sweltering in the heat wave, he was nearly frozen to death in 15 degrees centigrade below zero. After being aloft for over 12 hours, he eventually landed near Lake Garda in Italy. From the practical point of view, Professor Picard's experiment is of the highest possible importance. But one of the things it will definitely do will be to enable better weather forecasts to be made.
We were on the scene as soon as the Austrian Alpine troops you now see on their way to the glacier to recover the envelope and gondola in which the intrepid professors had made a perfect landing. After their amazing air voyage, just imagine, twice as high as Mount Everest, the biggest mountain in the world. The gondola, only 6'7" in diameter, you'll notice is half black one side and half silver the other. serene and calm, the professor walks down to the village to enjoy a hearty breakfast. When too warm, the bright side was turned to the sun. When too cold, the black. Dr. Kepler was overjoyed as he handed out each of the many instruments, all in perfect order, and recording highly scientific discoveries of the utmost importance.
Okay, so we're confronting a flat sea level, okay, and all oceans are contiguous. They comprise a lake of seas with the ice wall around being the container, perhaps, of all of the oceans. It's hard to say whether the oceans beyond or in or under Antarctica are frozen or whether they're melted. We don't know. We have all kinds of maps to show them this way or that, and as the ice wall is a circle or as the ice wall is irregular, there's really no way to know what the shape of the ice wall is for those of us who are not navigating all the time. But what if the circle Earth is an artificial construct, an artificial boundary of the 1958 Antarctica Treaty that prevents all of mankind from visiting or taking Antarctica seriously as a place to explore? There's no way for us to do that. And then when you think about what's going on the inside of the Earth, the enormous cavities and caverns and tunnels and waterways and volcanic vents that are inside our world, I don't think we could call it a flat plain. It's more like Swiss cheese, okay? This is a habitation in Turkey and another one in the Black Sea, and then Cappadocia again in Turkey that held like up to 3,000 people at a time. All right, and then caverns have whole ecosystems inside. They have waterfalls and beaches and forests and huge drop-offs. This particular cavern in Vietnam has its own forest and its own beach, and parties of explorers go there and spend a week at a time taking a vacation, although it's not easy to camp into that place. And then in Arkansas, you look at the huge crystal columns that exist there to hold up whatever, okay? No, Earth is Swiss cheese. It's not either a solid object nor a flat plane. That's plain to see. Okay, so you've seen that the skies have been acting funny, all right, so that there's something going on in the skies that we didn't know about, and we've noticed that if the Earth were spinning, it would be like a washing machine spin cycle, and the water would be spinning out of control, okay? We've noticed that nobody can find curvature, even though they can calculate where it ought to be and what it ought to be. We've noticed that, yes, the GoPro and Frog Eye cameras, they show yaw, but not either pitch or roll. We've seen that Auguste Piccard, in his little balloon, came to the opinion that he was looking at a flat plane with turned up edges. All right? And so the inner Earth, being so full of cavities and caverns and tunnels, is more like Swiss cheese. It's not flat. So there's something else going on here. And that's my point. It's not all science. You'll see. Okay, now archaeologists over the years have dug up about 15 cities that are submerged, and they're next to ports. The ports were built at a higher elevation where the cities used to be. And the cities are very interesting. They have skeletons of very large people, and they have very, very large sculptures of very large people. And they have these stone technologies that we today, with our equipment, would have a great deal of difficulty adjusting or moving around or constructing in the first place. And so we have to ask ourselves, well, why did these cities get submerged, and why were the people there so obsessed with giantism? Okay, what's with this giantism? Further, we know, some of us know, that there are 3 giant races that live inside and underground. There's Bigfoot, 6 to 9 feet. There's the Alpha Draconi, who are about the same size as the Agarthians, around 10 feet or 12 feet. And so there are people living underground. So underground cannot be a flat plane. Now, I don't go with the idea that we live on the inside of a sphere, but there's enough activity going on under there that there are people who believe that. And I'm not going to argue with them, okay? There's enough arguing going on, it seems to me. Also in our history, there is a competition between large-scale versus small-scale varieties of humans. As here Mike Tellinger finds a human footprint that's about 4.5 feet tall. We have fossils of skeletons going up to 36 feet tall, I believe is the tallest. And some of them had a skull that was the size of a Volkswagen. And of course that was in the era on this world when trees were redwood trees were miles across. And that was also the era on this world when dozens and dozens of pyramids were constructed by who knows what means, because we don't have the rock technologies that they had. But back in the day of the Anunnaki who were 12 to 15 feet tall, enslaved the little humans who were 4 or 5 or even 6 feet tall. And we have many, many carvings to show the relationship between the masters and the slaves. And we also have records, good records, of empires that used slaves. So slavery is a social phenomenon on this world that's not unusual. Furthermore, we can posit that the larger brain cases resulted in higher intelligence. And so what we see from the latest, or the next to latest, empire that fell, the Tartarian Empire, which fell in sometime in the early 19th century, that they were gifted with large numbers of very, very large people. They had giants among them, and they built their architecture to accommodate giants. And a lot of their architecture that they built is still available for us to use. Moreover, Nephilim-Giants are still in evidence. In 2002 or 2003, an army unit had to really work hard to take out the giant of Kandahar, which was about 12 feet tall and weighed 1,100 pounds. Now, the Tartary architecture style, not only being exceedingly intricate and built from sacred geometric principles that the Masons hold dear, and in fact they are related to the Masonic philosophy of the occult and Gnostic Gospels. And they served a civilization that was typically and characteristically fascist. All right? They were fascist. They had a group of allies all bound together in an imperial way of thinking. And so it wasn't surprising that eventually they were overturned. I love this picture of Grand Central Station in New York, and you can see that it was built at a higher scale, a larger scale than most people would require. Okay, so it was 1812 to 1850, sometime in there, that there was a massive mud flood, which we hear about only occasionally. Now it's become a big topic for discussion on the internet, and several channels are dealing with it exclusively. But the mud flood resulted in hundreds of thousands of orphans being shipped around the world who survived when their parents didn't survive. All right? So what was the purpose of the mud flood? Well, the purpose of Noah's flood was to take out the Nephilim-Giants empires. But we find out that in the early 1800s, giants were still here. Tartary was the empire that was defeated by the Russian family, the Russian royal family. But they were a fascist empire. After the defeat of Tartary, then the mud flood took out the rest of them. You see, their architecture reflects their ideology of top-down control and dictation over all the people. Now, you know there was a string of Gnostic occult empires. Remember Babylon? Well, it's no longer an empire, is it? Nor is Assyria, okay? Double-headed eagle. Nor is Greece an empire any longer, okay? Nor is Rome an empire any longer. And so what we know from history is in the Bible at Genesis 3:15, God said he was going to take out the seed of the woman. And these empires, including the German Nazi Empire, were all occult, serpentine empires, okay, that were taken out in accord with prophecy. And the remnants of the German Empire in Operation Paperclip came to the United States and has settled in the EU Parliament, okay? So now with the EU Parliament and the neocons and the Zionists controlling a lot of the events that occur, especially with UN Agenda 21, there's no telling who is sending fire from the sky now, all right? And because everything is secret, there's nobody talking about the vehicles and apparitions over astronomical observatories that I've been taking pictures of since 2011 that appear there regularly, with evidence of technology present in them. Also, we've had so many pictures of sundogs lately. one might think that the sun was reflecting off of something. Now that our atmosphere is full of chemtrail powder, what could the sun be reflecting off of? Well, how about the dome? It's called the firmament. It's called the firmament. And what would cascading circulation of magnetic energy result in? It would result in the energy characteristics of a toroid. And that's why in my last attempt to deal with this topic, I talked about Earth being a toroid. But I don't think it's nearly that regular a shape. I bet that it is a crashed shell of a planet that was crashed in the collision between Nibiru and Tiamat and Earth back 600,000 years ago. But the Masons declare that Earth is a toroid, and in this square and stationary Earth map, it appears to be something like tire inner tube. So I have no way to know exactly what the shape of the Earth is, but what's clear, it ain't flat and it ain't a spinning sphere. Okay, so if it ain't flat and it ain't a spinning sphere, and it's an irregular shape, why aren't we being told the simple truth about it? And that's because the issue is a political issue surrounding the giants who are still here, okay? The Anunnaki and Nibiru have returned. The Bigfoot people are telepathic and quiet, and they stay out of the way. They're probably mostly underground and only come up occasionally. The Agarthians have never really surfaced, okay? And the Alpha Draconi give us a wide berth because mammalian people tend to overreact to reptoid and reptilians. Okay, it's what's going on in Antarctica that is the question for the ETs, all right, is how stupid are these people that they believe this spinning ball Earth bullshit? How stupid do you have to be to think that that is a valid way to describe the ground you're standing on when you know it's perfectly still, you know the stars above your head are in fixed positions, okay, you know that sunset, the sun or the moon is getting smaller, it's increasing its distance from the viewer. Come on. And they're just making fun of us. They're making fun of us, and they're confirming their belief that we little people are not smart enough to govern ourselves, and we need another empire to take us over and manipulate us and enslave us. And that's the reason for this dialectic. That's the reason why the flat earthers are set against the spinning ball earthers. And that's my position on this particular issue. So this has been, okay, Space News Report for the week of, this is March the 15th. The 15th already. We're halfway through March. Isn't that cool? And I'm sorry about my technical lack of expertise, but I don't have very good equipment, and I just muddle. But I hope I'm making my point, okay? Thank you for tuning in. Bye-bye.